Good morning and welcome to Culpeper County Library's Book Starter Saturday. I'm Miss Walda and I'm here to share with you a very fascinating historical fiction book that will draw you into a very frightening time of our nation's history when Americans were attacked by a pandemic. Might sound familiar. Fever, 1793 by Laurie Halse Anderson. This book takes place during the summer of 1793. Mattie Cook lives above the family coffee shop with her mom. Mattie is 14 years old and, like most teens, wants to spend her days avoiding chores and making plans to really have that coffee shop become very famous in the town of Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia was the booming place at that time because it was actually the capital of our very young country. And in her coffee house, she had very famous visitors, Ben Franklin, George Washington. Well, life was grand until the fever breaks out. Now, at the time, people did not know what the fever was. It was actually the yellow fever. But it destroyed everything in its path, and it turned Mattie's world upside down. Let me give you a little bit of the book of what happened. First, you need to know that Polly, a young girl named Polly, was Mattie's best friend, and she would help at the coffee house. "So, where's Polly?" I asked as I dropped the bucket down the well. "Did you pass the blacksmith's?" I spoke with her mother, with Mistress Logan. Mother answered softly, looking at her neat rows of carrots. And I waved a mosquito away from my face. It happened quickly. Polly sewed by candlelight after dinner, and her mother repeated that over and over. She sewed by candlelight after dinner, and then she collapsed. I released the handle in the bucket splash, a distant sound. "Mattie, Polly's dead." "Dead? Polly's dead?" I couldn't have heard her properly. "Polly Logan?" The sweat on my neck turned to ice and I shivered. Our Polly? Our Polly? That can't be. Well, Mattie's world, like I said, was turned upside down. And also Mattie's mother becomes ill with the fever. And Mattie's mother wants Mattie and her grandfather to leave the city. But that is impossible because the fever is everywhere. And Mattie and her grandfather must quickly learn how to stay alive in a city that's turned frantic with the disease. The disease, this epidemic that struck Philadelphia in 1793 was one of the worst in the United States history. In 3 months' time, it killed 5,000 people, and that was 10% of the population. Well, the disease continued to ravage Boston, New York, and along the Mississippi River, the death toll rose to 20,000. Well, like I said, at the time they did not know it. This was the yellow fever. It was carried by mosquito. And it still exists today, but we do have a vaccine for it. The book, Fever, is an absolute page-turner, historically accurate, and almost very similar to some of our experiences now. So if you come looking for Fever, you will find it in the tween collection of our library. It's Fever 1793 by Laurie Halse Anderson. It's a great read. Thank you.